Guys, I saw the Across the Spider-Verse movie, and I cannot put into words how much I love this movie. It is easily one of my favorite animated movies of all time. Everything about this movie just went above my expectations. I've never seen a movie that had so much happening, but yet it all made sense at the same time. And I just wanted to make a video talking to you all about why I love this movie. Now, I will warn you, this will have spoilers because I'm too lazy to avoid spoilers, and we're about a week after the movie's out. Go watch the movie. First, let's talk about the characters. Shameik Moore and Haley Steinfeld did an amazing job as Miles and Gwen. Their chemistry throughout the movie is honestly so amazing that I think that they might actually be in a situationship in real life. This is a Miles movie, don't get me wrong, but I could also see the argument for this being a Gwen movie as well. Her development is amazing, and it was a pleasure to see her learn to care more for her friends and form a new family. A spider family, if I must. Okay, that was terrible. But anyways, Gwen was an amazing character. Now let's move on to Miles. Honestly, one of the most badass characters I've ever seen in an animated movie. This dude was going up against an entire universe of Spider-Men just to save his father. He single-handedly outsmarted Miguel and the rest of the Spider Society. And what I love about him the most is that he's a comic character that kids can look up to. He's an intelligent black/Latino American, and God knows I'm tired of seeing stereotypical minorities in cinema. It makes me so happy to see a smart minority, but also to see that Miles doesn't look down on others who look like him but may not have the same intelligence as him. I am a big fan of how Miles was written, and it's a good representation of the fact that the Writers Guild striking right now are within their right, because if they are writing characters like this and getting underpaid, I'm not gonna lie, I'd be pissed too. Now let's move on to Miguel O'Hara. But first, a little bit of a backstory on me. I am not much of a comic book reader, but two comic characters I've always loved are Spider-Man 2099 and Moon Knight. It's just funny to me how Oscar Isaac somehow managed to end up playing both adaptations of the characters I've been waiting for so long, and it's slowly making him one of my favorite actors currently. Now let's get on to specifically Spider-Man 2099. My first introduction to Spider-Man 2099 was Spider-Man Edge of Time, a game that a lot of people probably haven't played unless they're like really hard Spider-Man fans, but overall I love the game. I love the story, I love the characters, and even though the combat was repetitive, I love hack and slash games, so you can tell my game taste from that. It was that game that introduced me to his character, and I did more research into him, and I started to just really fall in love with the Spider-Man 2099 character. And going into the movie, I had some expectations of how he would be somewhat of a control freak and very strict about the timeline and keeping the timeline the way it is. Little did I know that he'd be that in tenfold. But what I love the most about his character is that it's not what he does, but why he does it. I feel like this is a thing that I love overall about the movie. When it comes to movies and stuff, I'm really big on the why more than the what. And I feel like this movie did a really good job explaining the motivations of the characters and why their development led them to being who they were. And for Miguel to see an entire universe destroyed solely because he wanted there to be a universe where he actually had a family, I can't help but sympathize with that. Even though I'm obviously rooting for Miles, I can't help but sympathize with where Miguel is coming from. It helps you realize that even though he is kind of crazy and has some vampirish tendencies, he's not a bad person. He's just been alone his whole life and has just dedicated his life to his work. His work is the only thing that makes him feel like anything that he does matters. But him and Miles combating has honestly created one of the best chase scenes I've ever seen in animation history, so I'm not complaining. Also, side note, Spider-Punk, I knew nothing about this guy, and yet this movie has slowly made me want to do more research into him. Normally, I find characters like Spider-Punk annoying and how they are always laid back and they don't take things seriously and they feel like they're just there so that the writers can have some contrast for comedy. But this movie, I felt like, did that medium very well. And when I found out that he was voiced by Daniel Kaluuya, Get Out Daniel Kaluuya, I honestly was just flabbergasted. I didn't even know the man was British. I didn't even know. I could make a whole video analyzing every single Spider-Man and what I loved about them specifically, but that just goes to show how good this movie is, and how even though there were so many Spider-Man characters in it, every person felt like they had a place. Now I want to move on to the morals and themes. This movie resonated with me so much. As someone who has just graduated college and pursuing a career in a very unstable field that people say is going to die very soon, I understand and resonate with Miles so much. His whole life, he's had other people tell him who he should be and what he should do. But now that he has great power, he is taking control of his destiny. I mean, Miles is literally willing to fight time itself just to fight for what he loves. I've been told many times in my life that I shouldn't be where I am and that I can't succeed due to the societal barriers that are placed upon people of my skin color. But I've always fought against those constraints to achieve a life that I can be proud to look back upon. And going off of that, I'm experiencing the same thing Miles was experiencing with his parents. His mom and dad wanted him to stay in Brooklyn and be close to home, but Miles knew that in order to grow as a person, he would have to leave the little bubble of Brooklyn. I'm experiencing similar things with my mom. I love her to death. She's the greatest mom I could ever ask for. But now that I've graduated college and landed my dream job, she's scared to see her baby leave. When Miles said maybe you should lay off his ass a little bit, I was like, yes, preach, my brother. All I want to do is spread my wings. It's scary, don't get me wrong, but it's what I know that I need to do in order to grow into the person I see for myself. To me, the overall theme is defying the past and breaking the historical chains that have been placed upon you. And I think that that's such a great message. Spider-Man, no matter what universe they're in, has experienced a lot of death. All of the other Spider-Men wanted to push this narrative onto Miles, but Miles said no. I mean, they told him that he isn't even supposed to be Spider-Man, that he's a mistake, but Miles didn't see it that way. Miles is breaking the barriers of historically what is meant to be Spider-Man. And that is something that I think anyone of any race or background can learn from. The ending is the perfect showing of this theme, where you see Prowler Miles being a product of his environment and Spider-Man Miles choosing to be different. Lastly, I want to talk a little bit about how this movie pushes the boundaries of what we know animation to be. This is the first animated movie where I have seen so much happen. They constantly change frame rates, change animation styles, change coloring themes. Hell, they even throw live action stuff in there. It is such a great representation of the many different styles of animation that can be out there. And it somehow all meshes together so well, like a complete puzzle. I've never seen a movie so bold to do whatever the heck it wants. Maybe I'm wrong, but like, we've always seen animation incorporated with live action, but we rarely see live action be incorporated within animation, if that makes sense. If you appreciate animation at all, please go see this movie. And if you don't appreciate animation, go see this movie anyway, because it's either this or Fast X. You know, I see a lot of people on Twitter talk about that Spider-Verse proves animation is cinema. And you know, my thought on it is always, who cares? Who wants to be associated with the abuse-filled, pedo-rampant, gentrified place that is known as Hollywood? I've always preferred animation because, to me, it is the only representation where you can truly see what the exact artist's vision is. Like, sure, don't get me wrong, I'm sure there are live-action movies where they get all of the stuff that they want in there, but they still have to put in some A-list actors because A-list actors bring more money. But in animation, all you need is animators and voice actors. And the animation allows the animators to create whatever their imagination desires to the full extent. Across the Spider-Verse should not only be watched, but celebrated as a film that was truly groundbreaking. I fully expect the next 5+ years to be movies trying to replicate what this movie was. But they never will, because there can only be one Across the Spider-Verse. Apparently the next movie is supposed to come out in 2024, but I really hope that they delay it, because I want them to take their time. Because if we keep getting good movies like this, please take your time. I know this is different from my usual ranting videos, but this film made me so happy that I just wanted to share it with you guys. So thanks for watching, and please go watch the movie if you haven't. And if you have watched it, watch it again.